Welcome once again to this very class, my good students. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to believe you have been having a good time going through the lessons we have been having since the beginning of these modules that we have been considering. Now, in our topic for this lesson, we are going to look at major scales, the major scale. Previously, we have looked into the scale, and we have looked into the type of scales and how we can know the type of scales and the features of scale. So please, let's quickly go straight into what we have. First and foremost, this major scale is a popular kind of scale that elicits the feelings of happiness and joy. Is most song that are written in the Western world. Many of them are composed using the major scale. Yes, major scale is a type of a diatonic scale. A diatonic scale means that it's a scale that uses 2 semitones and 5 tones, and the 2 semitones are separated using 2 tones and then followed by 3 tones. And also the diatonic scale, which is part of which gives rise to a major scale, is equally the type of scale that make use of the pitch letter names. All the pitch letter names are used in sequence without skipping any in representing the scale. So the pattern of a major scale is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now the tone is equally referred to as the whole step. The semitone is equally referred to as the half step. Now we are going to use the C major scale as a reference to study how the structure of the tones in a major scale, how they are laid out. The C major scale is quite easy to understand because we are making use of all the white keys with reference to the keyboard, and we are not using any sharp or flat. Now on the C major scale, it starts from the first note, which is called the tonic, and the scale always ends within an octave. Now it ends at on the octave note, which is the 8th note. Now it consists of 7 notes, like I said, that is characteristic of the major scale or the diatonic scale, is that all 7 notes of the pitch letter names are used, and without skipping any, they are used in sequence. So if we are starting from C, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And then the octave again, which is C, that gives us a repetition of the tonic, which is the first note. So if you count it, that gives us 7 notes that make up the scale. And also, if we have a look, we have it like that in the ascending order, where we have the first note, and then we have the second, the third to the 7th. We see it arranged in an ascending order because on the staff you see that the notes are placed higher than the previous one. They are placed higher, or it keeps going up. So that shows the pitches of those notes are getting higher. So that's how it's arranged in the ascending order. While in the descending order, you will see now it's coming down from the octave, it comes down to the tonic. So we now have from the octave, we get the B, we get A, we get G, we get F, then E, followed by D, and then finally C. So that is how we have the major scale the C major scale be represented. Now, if we have the keyboard, we can look at the spread out of the pattern. Like we said, the pattern is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. On the keyboard, you observe that just as if we start again from the middle C there, you see we have a C, we have a D, then we have E. Then between E and F, you observe here that there is no black key separating those two keys between E and F. Those two notes, there's no black key separating it. And then if you come to between F and G, we have a black key. G and A, we have a black key. A and B, we have a black key. Then between B and C again, there's no black key separating those two notes. So that is where the semitones occurs in a C major scale, and that is basic in understanding in the major scale. You must remember where the semitone naturally occurs on the scale. It naturally occurs between E and F and between B and C. So now we can equally take note of the fact that the intervals, therefore, on a C major scale will now be from the C to the D. That will be a whole step. That will give us a whole step or a tone. Then from D to E will give us another whole step. But from E to F, that will give us a half step. From F to G, that is a whole step. From G to A, that is a whole step. What about from A to B? Is it a whole step or a half step? Yes, it's a whole step. Then from B to C, that is a half step. Yes, a half step. Now, just like I explained earlier, you see that the notes that are used for the scale of the major scale or the C major scale as we are using now, they are just 7. The octave is a repetition of the tonic, so we don't need to add it again to the number of the tones that are used to represent it. We have 7 notes are used in that order. Then we now go straight into understanding the structure. How can we break it down? The major scale can be subdivided into 2 halves. Those 2 halves we call them tetrachords. Tetrachords. Each half is made up of 5 or 4 notes. Each half is made up of 4 notes. Now, therefore, a tetrachord will now be a scale of 4 notes. A tetrachord is a scale of 4 notes. Okay, I hope you can remember this. A tetrachord is a scale of 4 notes. Now, then the interval of a tetrachord is a perfect fourth. A perfect fourth. When we say the interval is a perfect fourth, what it means is that from the first note to the last note, the interval has 5 semitones. It has 5 semitones between the first note and the last note. So that's about the tetrachord. And then we have the structured C major scale. You can see we have now broken it into 2. We have the lower tetrachord, which comprised of the first 4 notes of the scale, and then the upper tetrachord, which comprises of the last 4 notes of the scale. So the first 4 notes, the root of the note, the tonic of the note will be C, because we are looking at the C major scale. So we have the C, the D, the E, the F, and then for the last 4, the root of that note will be G. So you should be able to know this, that the lower tetrachord starts on the root of the note of the scale, while the upper tetrachord will pick its name from the 5th the fifth note of the scale. That is where it will pick its name from. Now, if you look at this scale now, the fifth note there is G, and so it pick its name from there. So the upper tetrachord is going to be formed on G. So that will give us a G, part of a G scale. So that is what the tetrachord is. But we equally need to understand how the tones, how the semitones are structured. Now, first and foremost, let's look at the definition of a semitone. What is a semitone? What is a semitone? A semitone or halftone is the smallest interval between two pitches. Is the smallest interval between two pitches. A tone or a whole step, therefore, is made up of two semitones. Let's not forget the semitone can equally be referred to as a half step. The tone can equally be referred to as the whole step. So the semitone is the smallest distance, the smallest interval between two pitches, between two notes on the scale. But then for a tone contains two semitones. Then there's another concept we need to understand, and that is there are signs, there are symbols that we can use to alter the interval between two notes. Yes, there are symbols we can use to alter the intervals. Earlier when we started the lesson, you observe on that keyboard that there were some black notes, between set of two white notes. Yes, those are the notes that are used to alter the interval between the major scale, like the C major scale. So we have it like that. The name of these symbols, they are referred to as accidentals, and they are, for this class we are just going to concentrate on three of them: the flat, the sharp, or the natural. They can change they change the interval that exists between two notes. Either we are using the flat, or we are using the sharp, or we are using the natural. Now I'm going to explain in a moment the effect of the flat, the effect of the sharp, and the effect of the natural. Now let's go straight into the sharp. What does a sharp? How does a sharp affect a note? Now a sharp raises a note by a semitone. So a sharp raises a note by a semitone. So naturally, for the C major scale, between C and D is a tone. But when we place a sharp by C, we are not going to get to D. That will not give us a C sharp, for example. So that is how a sharp works. Then the flat lowers a note by a semitone. A flat lowers a note by a semitone. So if I go through that example again, that between C and D is a tone, then if I want to, I'm descending, I can say, okay, let me lower D. If I lower D, I will not get to a C anymore. I will get to a D flat because I just lowered D by a semitone. Okay, so then the last one is a natural. A natural restores the note to its original value. It restores the note to its original value. It cancels the effect of the flat or sharp. So that is what the natural accidental does. It restores the note to its original value. It cancels the effect of the flat or the sharp on the note. Once the natural is attached, is placed by the note, it means that the effect that has been, that the other accidentals have had on that note has now been cancelled. So that is the end, or that is the size of our lesson. Before we go, I have some evaluation questions for you. I would like you to go through these questions and then answer them in your notes. Let me see what you have written down. I'm going to check it, and I'm very sure that you understood the lesson. The first question under the evaluation questions is, what is the pattern of a major scale? What is the pattern? If I may ask you, what is the pattern of a major scale? Write this one down, note it down. And the second one says, how many tetrachords make an octave of a major scale? How many tetrachords make an octave of a major scale? And then the third, a tetrachord is composed of how many semitones from the first to the last note? So a tetrachord is composed of how many semitones from the first to the last note? Can you still remember that? Can you still remember that? Okay, you answer it down. And then finally, what is the name of the symbols that can change the intervals of any two notes? What is the name of the symbols that can change the intervals of any two notes? Of course, you know, we just gone through the major scale and we use the C major scale. Now, what is the name of the symbols that can alter the intervals of any two notes at any time? Okay, so that is that. I've explained all this, and I want to believe now you understood everything about the major scale, and particularly the C major scale. So I will see you next time. Have a nice day. Bye bye.